Alright, hello. I am actually trying out a new method of filming. This is on my new Kindle, and it's a little bit shaky. I need to figure out a way to get a good stand so that I don't have to hold it by hand because it does get a bit shaky. But as you can see, I've got a Squirrel Girl comic out, and I thought it might be fun to kind of go through a few of them and show some of my favorite Squirrel Girl battles. You'll note, for those of you not familiar with the character, she is unbeatable, Squirrel Girl. That is a literal truth. Basically, in her entire canon in Marvel, and this is all currently canonical that I'm about to show you, she has never once been beaten. So I'm going to show you some of, my favorite fights and battles of her and where to find them. This is the collected edition of the current run of Squirrel Girl, #1. But it also includes, if I can open it up to the end there, yep. It also this is her first appearance working with Tony Stark to fight Doctor Doom. And just totally beating him by having squirrels throw on them. Well, yeah, all over him. And yeah, his comment was, these wretched rodents, for every one I fling away, a dozen more vex me. So, yep, that's her original battle beating Doctor Doom, which is pretty darn impressive. If you look at Marvel Comics, Doctor Doom is pretty darn tough. And, I'm presenting these in no real specific order, just kind of showing you where you can find them and where they are. Yeah, we'll go with this one next. This is the second collected edition, Squirrel, You Know It's True. So, this one I really enjoyed. So, in this storyline, an evil squirrel from Asgard called Ratatoskr, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because, quite frankly, it's spelled very weird, hard to pronounce, she's a trash-talking squirrel, essentially, and she can convince anyone to do anything. So, Squirrel Girl and her friends figure this out, go to the Avengers for help, and the Avengers have already been completely corrupted by, Ratatoskr. And so, they're arguing and fighting with each other and saying nasty things about her and her friends, and Squirrel Girl states that, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Very, very good advice. There's a slight pause, and Spider-Man starts to say something, and here we are on the next page, which is 26 seconds later, and all the Avengers are defeated. Which, pretty darn good record, if I might say so myself. That, by the way, is one of the better storylines. So, Squirrel, you know it's true. Recommend you get it. So, we're going to go. We've got a couple here. This is the Great Lakes Avengers. If you're a Squirrel Girl fan, but not necessarily a Great Lakes Avengers fan, it may not be worth getting. They're very different comics. Great Lake Avengers is a spoof off of the Avengers, off of most comic books actually. Has some very politically incorrect characters. And in the original run, they had one member die per comic episode as just to kind of make fun of all the stuff that's happening, or all the characters who die and the drama and pathos they cause because of it. But I have a couple from here. So, pull up ahead. So, let's put this following comic in context. It takes place during the Civil War in the comics, which I personally did not enjoy. I know a lot of people liked it. Here we are. And so Deadpool goes out of his way, decides that he wants to work for the government, hunting down superheroes, and he starts by going after the Great Lakes Avengers, and of which Squirrel Girl was a member, without bothering to find out if they'd registered or not. They were actually first in line to register, so it was a pretty pointless fight, even for Deadpool. And then Squirrel Girl shows up to take the fight to him, and he ends up his uniform ripped to shreds and hanging from a light lamp post, or what are those things called? Street light. After just being slaughtered by her. Deadpool's a pretty good fighter, and his regeneration regenerative powers are really, really good. Usually work well for him. He didn't even stand a chance against Squirrel Girl. So we'll come back to this comic in a second, because as you can see, I have another marker right there. All right. We will go with this one. This is Squirrel Girl Beats Up the Marvel Universe. Storyline is, it's yet another clone storyline in comics. This one is actually kind of interesting because you don't have the usual, which one of us is the real one, stuff that they did for so long. Basically, Squirrel Girl was actually, and her clone was intelligent enough to figure out which one was which, just from the get-go. Very nice and original. Now, we discover that while the clone isn't evil, she's a bit more morally challenged than Squirrel Girl. Also, just side note, yes, that is Thor's hammer that Squirrel Girl is wielding, putting her on the list of people who have wielded Thor's hammer. They make a big deal out of it in Age of Ultron, the movie Age of Ultron, but honestly, a lot of people, including Captain America, have wielded Thor's hammer. So, but we're going to go back to this one fight. So, they decide to send in the Hulk to stop morally challenged Squirrel Girl. Now, this is a very debatable point, because does this, a lot of people say, well, that may or may not count as an actual defeat of Squirrel Girl of Hulk, but she sent the morally challenged Squirrel Girl sent the cutest little squirrel to Hulk, and he just said, oh, that's so cute, and that made him less angry. He resorted to being human and got knocked out as a human. So that one, I'll agree, that one's debatable, but I thought it was really, really funny, so I'm counting that as one of the better fights. And now we're going back. The Great Lake Avengers. This is actually a famous or a well-known battle, and it's interesting because, like the Avengers one, we don't actually see what happens. So after Squirrel Girl ends up taking on MODOK, who's a pretty tough opponent despite how ridiculous he looks, and winning, hands down, Thanos arrives on Earth looking to charge up something, and Squirrel Girl charges in after him. This was part of their Christmas special of Great Lakes Avengers. And then in the next panel, they move on to another part of the storyline. Well, a little bit later, while the Great Lakes Avengers are taking care of people, at a flocking factory, we have this panel with Thanos being defeated, Squirrel Girl saying that's tough, and the Watcher actually there, and he confirms that is the one true Thanos and not a robot clone or simulacrum. Yeah, they have to use these big words just to confuse me when I'm trying to do these videos. But yeah, she did defeat the real Thanos in a one-on-one fight, although nobody's entirely sure exactly how she did it. But that's not her most impressive victory. Most impressive victory, we're coming back to the Squirrel Girl. This is the #1 in the collected series. And probably one of the greatest covers of all time. We have here Squirrel Girl on the moon, having defeated Galactus and taking a selfie of herself while doing it, which she said earlier she would do. And this one we hadn't actually seen the fight by this point, because this is the literally the, here we go. That's the start of the comic. Oh, wait, wrong page. That's the start of the comic. We have a little thingy at the beginning, and then first page, she defeated Thanos, and then there's the letter page, which was kind of as a joke, because they just, after the letter page, went back and said, okay, this is what happened, and did a flashback of the fight. In fact, in a straight-up fight, nothing she threw at him did anything, which is what to be expected, but she actually started talking and approached Thanos as a fellow intelligent human being, and pretty much, gave him something he wanted and talked him out of invading Earth, which may not sound as comic booky as a lot of people want to say or think, but honestly, I do believe that is probably one of the most underrated things that superheroes do, is to actually have reasoned dialogue with people. And in this case, she managed to find common ground with Galactus, who nobody can. So anyway, that's a quick look at some of my favorite Squirrel Girl victories and defeats. Let me know what you think of the video. Like I said, this is an experiment with using the Kindle, so it may or may not work out too well. And anyway, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.